Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode one of my new show, one of my new shows that I'm calling Nerdix TV. If you've followed me on Instagram or anywhere else, you've known that I've been trying to put together some content for a while. Well, it's taken me a while to get to this point. One of the main problems that I've been having over the past couple of weeks since starting down this journey is Windows versus Linux and how to get my laptop to actually run both. If you'll see over in this little camera here, so right now this is my current setup. I have a laptop here, which is my I have a laptop in the middle of the screen here. You should see it in the middle of the camera below my picture. There's a laptop right here. This here is a Lenovo W541 workstation. It's connected to a dock. It has two monitors plugged into the dock into the back, one through HDMI and one through DisplayPort. I've got a bunch of extra accessories laying around here. I've got a Blue Icicle that's plugged into my XLR mic over here. It's an old mic that I've had for a while, so if the sound quality isn't that great, I hope to upgrade that at some point, but right now I'm kind of working with what I got. I'm using the front-facing camera here is the little camera right there. That is the integrated webcam on the laptop. And then what you're seeing back here is a Logitech C920 that I've mounted on a tripod kind of over my left shoulder. Just kind of give you a picture of what it looks like. I have two external 22-inch monitors. They're both HP monitors. This would be the right one. This would be the left one. And as you can see from my desktop image here, I am currently running MX Linux, if you can't tell. That's what this is, MX Linux. I'm running MX Linux 17.1. Just installed it today. Just got it installed today, as a matter of fact. I'm still got some setups to do. I like it. I've got a couple little quirks that I'm trying to work out. The biggest one is that I got to figure out what to do with this dock over here. Right now, this dock here is all the way over here on the left side of the left monitor, which makes sense if this monitor is right in front of you. But my primary monitor isn't right in front of me. And the reason that is because, at least right now, my primary monitor is not my laptop screen, because my laptop screen is so small, I can't stand it. You're not seeing a visual picture of the laptop screen, but my laptop screen is small. I mean, it's a pretty big laptop screen, but I'm getting old and my eyes aren't all that good as it is, and I don't like using laptop screens for main screens if I can manage. So my main screen right now is the one over here to the left, and then over here, you can kind of see it over here. This is my left screen, my right screen, which is another 22-inch monitor. I'm not sure if I want to flip-flop these guys, how I want to do this, where I want to put this wonderful dock. I don't know if I want to move the dock to the right side. Maybe I want to put the dock on the right side of this monitor. Anyway, this is just kind of like I said, I just set this up today, so I still have some configuration to play around with it. A couple of things I've installed by default is obviously I've installed OBS so that I can run this, start doing these videos. MX comes with a whole host, and I mean a whole host of different Conky setups. By default, it's really awesome. So I've picked this Conky layout, which kind of gives me a good breakdown of everything. It tells me, you know, how much battery, uptime, temperature, how many processes are running. You know, it's got my CPU loads, host information, What's funny is it's not showing my network address here. So there's a couple little quirks I'm still trying to work out with the Conky because I'm hardwired into my router. So you would think I would have an address. I probably just have to reconfigure these here. Not a big deal. So it should give me upload download speeds, give me my disk, my RAM, my swap. Oh, excuse me. Down here it gives me some, my current running processes, and then again host name OS and the kernel that I'm running. I'm running kernel 4.15.0. I really kind of like this. Date, time, so this is telling me, so it's 9:25, 9:21, somewhere around there. They've got a whole host of these different Conky layouts. Like I said, I literally just put this together probably within the last couple hours. Just kind of threw it together really quick. The other thing I did install on here, thanks to DistroTube, Derek from DistroTube. You can check him out on YouTube. He's really great. DistroTube is Rofi. I wanted a really good, cool command line keyboard. Not command line, but like a quick launcher. So I mapped mine to Alt Space because anytime you hit Windows key inside of MX, I've found so far, even if you do it with a different key sequence, it always brings up the whisker menu. So I mapped it to Alt Enter. If I do Alt Enter, I get the little Rofi menu. Now right now I have it set to run drun, and then I can search for a program. There's other things I could do in here. I could search for, like if I search for OBS, it'll give me, OBS. If I search for terminal, it'll give me a bunch of terminals I can run. So I'm still kind of playing around with this configuration. There's ways to do it to do your windows and everything. You can actually theme Rofi, which is really cool. I'm gonna watch a couple stuff, a couple more things by DistroTube, and whatever else I could find on Rofi. So that's pretty cool. But this is my setup. I kind of wanted to do videos that kind of showed the whole process. I just didn't have time. Like I just got to the point where I needed to get in and get this thing set up. And to get me this far, it's taken me a couple weeks, and here's why. This machine right here, when I bought it, had one hard drive in it, one SSD. It's in a Samsung 850. Pretty sure it's the 850 with Windows 8 on it. I had a license for Windows 10 Pro. I wiped out the 850, or I wiped out the Windows 8. I loaded Windows 10 on there. At the time, things were really busy. Things were really going crazy. I was trying to figure out what to do with stuff, and I just needed to get something up and running so that I could get some work done. My godson Zachary, who lives in the house here with me, I share a house with a bunch of people. My godson's one of them. Anyway, he's a big gamer. And plays a lot of Windows games. I mean, most of his games are on Windows. Minecraft. He's he's into Fallout. He's into He's into a bunch of different games. So anyway, had to have a Windows system up and running fairly quick. Didn't really have time to play around with Linux. I've played in the Linux space before. I've done Linux before. Before I ended up with this laptop, I ran a desktop that I used to have that I actually had Windows, at the time it was Windows 7, dual booting with Arch. I think it was Archbang at the time, back when Archbang was a thing, before it died and kind of came back to life again. Anyway, I used to run that. And I had an issue where I let it sleep for a while and I didn't do anything, and then I did the old, Pac-Man dash capital SYU, boom, broke my system, screwed everything up. Only thing I had left was the data because I had it all backed up, and the Windows 7 partition. And, life kind of gets crazy, life gets in the way, and I just didn't have the time to go back and deal with it, man. So I ran with the Windows 7, and then that computer kind of crapped out on me. Ended up getting this laptop here. Been running Windows 10 on it. Can't say I'm a big fan of Windows. I don't really like Windows at all. Really, not much at all. Don't like it. Really don't like it. I mean, the Windows interface is okay. I'm not a huge Microsoft fan in terms of, what kind of privacy crap they do, the data collection stuff that they do, all the stuff that they've got locked in there, all the lockdown stuff. I like my stuff to be a little bit more free and open source. I'm really a big proponent of the open source stuff. I mean, I see that they're open sourcing some stuff. I've gotten used to using some of the Linux tools over the years, and I miss not having those. I miss having those. Let me state that again. I miss the fact that I don't have them on Windows, or that I've got some sort of hacked together version of them on Windows. So really wanted to get back into Linux, really wanted to get back into Linux as my personal primary OS. So anyway, went down that road, started messing around with that a while ago, and a couple weeks ago maybe, and man, came to a very, very hard conclusion very fast. When I created my original Windows 10 partition, so the drive that was originally on this machine, the Samsung 850 that was on here, 450 gig, 460 gig, something like that. I had every intention of dual booting Linux. At least I believe that is what my intent was, because when I partitioned the drive initially, I created two separate partitions on the one drive, each roughly 200 gig apiece. Oh, excuse me. I gave the first chunk of 200 to Windows 10, and the other 200 I did nothing with. I left it unallocated. When I installed Windows, it created its standard system partition. It created a 240 some odd gig, main NTFS partition, and then it created an 866 megabyte recovery partition. Then it left all that free space, unallocated space. Well, lo and behold, that when I wanted to go back in, so time moves on, I decide I'm going to start doing this thing. Well, just before I start figuring out how I'm going to work this out, doing some research, watching some guys, I watch stuff like Destination Linux. I was always a big fan of like the Linux Action Show, everything by Jupiter Broadcasting. I watched all that stuff for years. Got into the Destination Linux stuff before Rocco left, before even Joe left. I used to watch the two of them, and then I was watching it. I was watching it off and on when it was Rocco and Ryan, and then they added Mike Tennell, who I remember from the Linux Action Show and Linux Unplugged and stuff like that. So now it's, and then it was the four of them, which is great. So anyway, I watch a lot of Linux guys on YouTube. And I'm trying to plug into the community more on those YouTube channels and kind of, come along. But what I realized is that the best way that I've seen a lot of these guys do this, and I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. It's brilliantly simple. What they do is they get two hard drives, right? Two hard drives in the machine. One boots Windows with its own bootloader. One boots Linux with its own bootloader. Boom. BIOS. Hit the BIOS settings. Go into your BIOS boot menu. Switch which drive you boot to. You need to boot into Windows. You reboot your system. You pick the Windows drive. You need to boot into Linux. You reboot the system. You pick the Linux drive. Boom. Wow, brilliant. So I ordered a drive. Actually ended up ordering a Kingston drive. Roughly the same about 500 gig SSD. While waiting for that to actually show up in the mail, ran into a situation where my Windows 10 partition was running out of space. My godson loves his video games, and my Steam library was filling up, and the Minecraft library was filling up, and he's got stuff that he runs on Twitch for all of his Minecraft mods, and I have ISOs up the wazoo on there that I'm trying to play around with to try and figure out which ISO that I want to use, which Linux distro that I want to use. And then you get to the point where you've only got a little bit of space left, and Windows just keeps nagging you, and then it won't do anything. Like you literally can't get anything done, because every time you try and do something, it says, "Oh, operation cannot be completed because you don't have enough disk space." So then I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to free up disk space? So I go through and I delete a whole bunch of ISOs. I delete a whole bunch of downloaded programs. It's just not working. Like, I'm just maxed out on my space, and I'm trying to figure out, why am I maxed out on my space? That's when I go into the partition manager inside of Windows, disk management utility, and I see that almost half the drive is unallocated space. Like, oh, okay. Right click on the Windows partition, extend partition. Right click, oh, it won't let me extend the partition, it'll only let me shrink it. Alright, start thinking, start doing a little bit of research. Boom, hit the answer. It will not let me extend the current NTF partition using the allocated space because this little itty bitty 866 megabyte recovery partition is in between. And the free space has to be next to the partition that you want to resize into. Now, I should have known that from my days when I was screwing around with Linux all the time, but it just didn't occur to me. Spinning my wheels all this time trying to figure this stuff out. All right, fine. What am I going to do? All right, meantime, out of space. You got to clean up space. So, how do I clean up space? Then it hits me. I'm syncing my entire Dropbox collection to this machine. That's got to be good for what? 20, 30 gig? I pay right now $99 a year, right now. Maybe I'll do another video on that in light of the new news with Dropbox and their support for unencrypted extended for file systems only, but that's a conversation for another day. But right now I pay $99 a year to get the 1 terabyte of storage, and I'm only using like 35 gig of it. Tops. I'm syncing most of it, not all of it, because I have some pictures going from my iPhone to my Dropbox. I don't sync those back down to this laptop, but I was syncing everything else. Alright, problem solved. I can wipe a lot of this stuff out. I disconnect my Dropbox folder from this machine. Uninstall Dropbox. When you uninstall Dropbox from a machine, it wipes out all that stuff. Clears it right off the machine. Blows it away. Good. Boom. Now I got 28 gig free space left. It stops complaining at me. Alright, how am I going to move this? I go in, I fire up a Linux drive, and at this point I think I had pretty much settled on starting with this MX Linux. Mostly because I fell in love with the live USB tools that it has. But I'm a Debian guy. I love Debian. I mean, I like Arch, don't get me wrong, but I wanted something that was a little bit more stable to start with, to play with. At some point, maybe I'll get back into an Arch distribution, but man, I burned myself on Arch last time. I mean, you got to be on top of stuff with Arch, and the stability of a good Debian distribution is key. And I like MX because it's got the XFC window manager, which is nice and light. I can extend it the way that I want to extend it. It's pretty, it's slick. Right now it's going to do everything that I need it to do. Runs really nice on this machine. Anyway, so I booted up into the machine, tried to do gparted. For some reason I couldn't figure out, it'd been so long since I had screwed around with gparted, and I had done this gparted thing before I had figured out that this recovery partition was in the way. So in the meantime, I'm playing around, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but I kind of want to get the whole story out. Anyway, what I end up doing is I end up saying, okay, I'm going to back up the drive. And this is one thing that I haven't fixed yet, but I'm safe for now. Go to back up the drive using CloneZilla. All of this stuff I wanted to get on video too for content. It just didn't seem to work right. Go to load CloneZilla. It won't image my drive because there's a GPT partition table and an MBR and a non-GPT partition table on the Windows drive. I think the GPT partition table is left over from the Windows 8 install, because I checked in Windows in the MS Info 32 and it's set for legacy boot, so it's not using EFI. I don't think it's using GPT. I don't know. I gotta figure that one out, but right now I don't really have to worry about it too much. At some point I gotta figure that one out so that I can actually make a clone of this hard drive, so that if this hard drive dies, I can re-image it. But that's for another day. Anyway, I grabbed a USB stick, which took forever, by the way. I found some instructions online on how you can create a recovery stick, right? If you go into the control panel, all control panel items, recovery in Windows 10, you can actually create a recovery stick. It takes forever to process this thing, and make sure your freaking recovery stick is big enough. Alright? Definitely make sure your recovery stick is big enough. There was one little glitch I ran into that. I did do some videos with that, but I had no sound, so maybe I'll chain them together and do a voiceover on that at some point. There was a special scan. I had to scan the file system to fix some corrupt files because that recovery stick kept failing on me. Anyway, long story short, I was able to create this recovery stick. Once I created the recovery stick, I decided to hell with it. I'm just going to take this 866 meg recovery partition, delete it. I'm just going to delete it. So I downloaded a tool called, and I probably have it up here still in one of these windows. It was called Windows 10 Partition Tool. Where was it? This is it, right here. Ease US. So I downloaded this tool called Ease US. I went in, right-clicked on the partition, the recovery partition, deleted it. Boom. Applied the changes. Rebooted the machine to make sure that Windows still booted. Booted fine. Then what I did is I basically was able, at that point, I went into the same Ease US, or Ease Us, whatever you want to call it, tool. I took the that partition, the NTFS partition, the one that was too small, said resize. Now I can resize it. I dragged the slider all the way over to the right, hit apply, rebooted the machine. Now my Windows partition is the full size of the drive minus the system partition. I'm good. I'm golden now. That drive will serve its purpose for a while. Once I got all of that working, that's when I installed that's when I downloaded MX, threw it on a stick, and installed it to that second Kingston hard drive, and this is what you have now. This is what we've got now. Now we've got my system up and running. So I know that's a lot, guys. Wow, this thing is running hardcore. Hold on a second. So the other thing I have on this thing, which is kind of cool, maybe I can do this. Don't mind me, guys. I take this out. Back here, You see that, dude? That is a fan. So that is an external fan. It goes over the ports on a laptop and it pulls the air out. And it's got 10 speeds. Right now the air coming out of it, it's 111 degrees. And then 111, 112. And what you can see from my conky setup, let me put this stupid thing back in its holder here. Sorry about the camera, guys. There. Oh. Alright. If you could see, that thing was running about 90 degrees a minute ago. It's a little hot for me. Not thermal breakdown, but enough for me to notice. Anyway, that's what I was doing, kicking the fan up. So if you hear a little bit of the fan noise, that's what that is. Anyway, I've rambled on for almost half an hour now. I hope you guys like this video. I'm going to try and turn out more of these. Anyway, that's my setup. I actually have on order, so the next time I do a video might be when I go after I set up my monitor stand. So I bought mounts to mount these two monitors, this one and this one, on a rod that's going to connect in the back that'll get the monitors up and give me a little bit more flexibility on what's going on with some of that stuff. Get them up off the desk, give me a little more desk space. So anyway, that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed this video, episode 1 of Nerdix TV. I hope it wasn't too boring for you. Leave comments below. Hit the like button if you liked it. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications if you're interested in seeing more of what's coming. And I hope you all have a wonderful night.